Hello and welcome to Real Opinions, and today I'm going to be reviewing Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, the new Harry Potter prequel kind of thing. So I'm going to start this by saying that I sent this review in to Jack just in case he wanted to use it, because I did say, I don't like Harry Potter, so this could be kind of controversial or just unpopular or just a useless opinion, because who really wants a review of a new Harry Potter film from someone who doesn't like Harry Potter? So if this got used, I'm sorry. Because I don't really like Harry Potter. The first two, the ones by Christopher Columbus, they're fine kid films. I don't mind them. Prisoner of Azkaban and Goblet of Fire, I actually think are pretty decent. And then everything after that, I don't like. So basically all the David Yates ones. And yay, we have a new David Yates one. So I didn't... I just think that David Yates manages to suck all the magic out of Harry Potter. I mean, like I said, I don't really like Harry Potter that much, but I admit there's a charm, a sense of wonder and magic, and David Yates just yanks that out of the franchise and goes, no, it's all moody, everything's all like grey and miserable, there's no sense of spontaneity or wonder. Like Christopher Columbus, yeah, he made cheesy kids films, but at least they were, they were fun cheesy kids films. And the third and fourth films, they were kind of fun adventure stories. And then all the David Yates ones are just fucking miserable, particularly the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I could have a whole rant on the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I hate that film. I kind of went into this very, I was going to say very, very cautiously, but to be honest, I didn't even care that much enough to call it cautiously. I just went into it with remarkable ambivalence, and I left feeling remarkably ambivalent. It's not the worst Harry Potter movie. I think it's better than Deathly Hallows Part 1. I think it's better than The Order of the Phoenix, and I also think it's better than The Half-Blood Prince. But as someone who does not like Harry Potter, I found it incredibly mediocre at best and boring at worst. This is a film that kind of it's attempting to start a new franchise, in my opinion, in a very clumsy way. Newt Scamander, I think I pronounced his name correctly, as he goes to New York, and by accidentally switching his briefcase with this non-magic, that's what they call them in America instead of muggles, he ends up inadvertently letting all of these creatures that he's smuggling into the country loose, because owning magical beasts is prohibited in America. So all of his beasts get unleashed across New York, and he has to go around finding them. He teams up with various characters in order to do this. Meanwhile, there's something going on totally separately to do with this dark wizard and this strange invisible creature that is destroying and attacking non-magics all over the place. And then there's this other separate storyline to do with these people who are kind of resurrecting the Salem witch trials. They hate witches, and they're like a cult basically that want to stamp out all magics. And it's sort of like these three separate things. One of them is basically Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The other two parts kind of interconnect and are set up for this new franchise that's apparently going to be 5 films long. And for the most part, these two storylines do not interact in any way, shape, or form. It feels like 2 different films have been slapped together, and then right at the end, they really clumsily kind of bump into each other, and they basically turn to Eddie Redmayne and go, you have to stop this dark wizard that you have nothing to do with and have not interacted with throughout the entire film. I mean, people give a lot of modern superhero movies crap for this, for kind of doing an origin story and then throwing in a villain for the last 20 minutes so that we can have a climax. This is one of the worst examples of that I've ever seen. Eddie Redmayne has nothing to do with the villain throughout this entire film, and then they just go, oh, by the way, you've got to deal with this now. And it feels so rushed, it feels so out of nowhere, and there's no sense of stakes or personal drama or conflict, because they don't care about each other for the entire film. In fact, they don't even know each other's names, they don't know who each other are. And it just feels so kind of oh, apparently we're making this into a franchise now, when it was clearly it should have just been a standalone story. Because that's sort of, to an extent, what the first Harry Potter is. I know it has the whole, we're going to be doing this for 7 years of school, but generally it's a self-contained adventure, and that's what this should have been. I mean, there's no reason you can't do 5 films sprawling off from that, because the first few Harry Potters are self-contained adventures. You don't need to start a franchise with all this setup and these, like, threads that get left dangling, which is what this does. It's a weirdly modern thing that people kind of forgive franchise starters now for kind of doing a lot of exposition or for leaving things dangling, because it's like, yeah, but they're going to do it in later films. But you have to think back to things like Star Wars and things like Back to the Future and things like Indiana Jones that didn't do that. They started with a self-contained adventure and then they managed to make a franchise from that. And that's what this should have been. So clearly should have been. It should have just been he lets the creatures loose and he has to go get them. But no, that's not what we got. We got this really clumsy, awkward franchise starter. As well as that, I found it mostly quite tedious. The creature designs are fairly uninspired, and they're really hindered by some inexcusable CGI. Harry Potter's always had a bad track record with cartoony CGI, but like I really thought, right, it's 2016 now, guys. Why does it look like this? There is no reason for it to look so shoddy. But the creatures are fairly bland. There's one that has this interesting gimmick to do with the way that it perceives things. And I thought, ooh, that sounds interesting. But this film being the shameless franchise starting setup that it needs to be, it doesn't have the time to actually explore that. So it just goes, oh, this creature has this interesting ability. Are we going to use it? No, of course not. Fuck it. And that was really disappointing because the film finally got me engaged and then it had no relevance. The characters I found either bland or annoying. There's a couple that are decent. I thought Ezra Miller's character was criminally underused, and a lot of the Salem witch trials people were fairly decent sort of antagonists, but they were all underused. But our heroes, I found Eddie Redmayne's character quite annoying. I think he's going for this kind of adorkable, kind of socially inept but cute thing, but I just found it vaguely creepy. and there were more than a couple of occasions where it reminded me of his Jupiter Ascending performance. Then there's I don't know the names because I don't care enough, but there's the comic relief muggle, who's a teeny bit annoying. The girl that they bring with her, she's fine. Colin Farrell's okay, again though, massively underused because sequels. And then we have this really strange ending. This is, as I said, franchise starter, but it ends like Lord of the Rings 3. Seriously, I was sitting there going, when's this gonna end? It just keeps piling on, sort of like emotional resolution after emotional resolution after emotional resolution to characters that I have no emotional connection to. Like, they've not had enough development for me to feel this kind of like, oh, they're parting ways now. I don't care. You've only been in one film. You've barely been together. What is this? There's some stuff that I did kind of like. I liked the retro-y setting. I liked the music was decent. They give it like a period style score mixed with the sort of Harry Potter cues. I thought that was kind of neat. And as I said, some of the beasts have interesting abilities. And there is one, I will admit, there was one that I found quite cute. I will say that. And I liked the stuff with the Salem witches. And I kind of liked the protagonists to an extent. Not the protagonists, I didn't like the protagonists. The antagonists to an extent. They were okay. They just weren't in it anywhere near enough to have the impact that they clearly were intended to have. There are a lot of elements and characters that feel really kind of just forced in there for clear setup later. Like John Voight's in this as some newspaper tycoon. He has like 2 scenes, both of which are about 20 seconds long. And you're like, well, this is basically a cameo, but you know that it's because he's going to go on to have importance in the sequels, and everyone will forgive it because it's Harry Potter. Also, one bit that this is nitpick. I'm now nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking, I know, but I'm sorry, it bothered me. There's this bit where they go, where will these creatures have gone in New York? They want somewhere open. They want somewhere where they can hide and blah, 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 blah. You know where they've gone. I can tell that you already know where they've gone. They're in New York. They're creatures. They've rung amok. And he's going like, where will they go in New York? Of course they've gone to Central Park. That's every film ever. Any film ever where a creature gets lost in New York is going to have gone to Central Park. But they treat it like such a shocking reveal. It's like, of course it's gone to Central Park. Don't treat me like I'm a fucking idiot. But yeah, I liked some stuff. There was a bit where they go to a kind of this club thing with a kind of gangster elf. I kind of liked that part. I thought that part was neat. Some of the comedy didn't bother me. Some of it I thought was a bit broad, but some of like there's this one creature that has like a recurring gimmicky joke with it, and it was cute enough. Overall, I didn't like this movie, but I equally didn't hate this movie. It was just not for me more than anything. So this review, if it does get used, is more so for people who don't like Harry Potter than people who do. Because I think if you like Harry Potter, you will like this film. And I have nothing against that. Because, you know, I fanboy too. I fanboy over Star Wars. I fanboy over Lord of the Rings. And, you know, I make excuses for those prequels. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be allowed to make excuses for this blatant cash grab too. Because I do it too. I do the exact same thing. And I do think this is fairly comparable to The Hobbit. It is... I think objectively it's less shameful than the prequels, even though I actually kind of think I prefer the prequels. But I think The Hobbit is a fairly good sort of indicator. Like how you felt about The Hobbit, you may well feel the same about this. Overall, I'd give this a 4 out of 10, but I think maybe for objectivity's sake, you might want to pump that score up a little higher. I don't know. You know, this review's probably not going to be used, but that's what I thought. Thank you for watching. I know you all hate me now because I crushed your joy. I crushed your childhoods. I'm sorry, not everyone has to like Harry Potter. I'm such a miserable kid.